Hi, I'm Lisa Bloom.
And I'm Sarah Bloom.
And welcome to the Bloom Zoom. Today, I want to answer this question that a lot of people have been asking. I'm scared to return to work. What are my rights? So states are now reopening. Workers are being called back. But what if you're not comfortable going back? What if you don't feel safe? Do you have to? Today, I'm going to walk you through what your rights are if you don't feel safe returning to work.
We have been working remotely this whole time. I've acquired a dog on a couch. We're in the mountains. How has that been going for you?
Well, you know what? Honestly, we have been working remotely. As attorneys, we can, thank God. I recognize that many people can't, and it's much more difficult for them. I'm not in any rush to reopen our office. I just don't feel that it's safe yet. I mean, Sarah, would you feel safe sitting around the conference table with coworkers now, even if they were wearing masks?
I wouldn't. And we luckily have a profession where we can work remotely, and it's pretty much the same. I know a lot of people don't have that luxury, but coronavirus is still spreading very widely across the United States. Thousands of Americans are dying from it every day. It's on the rise everywhere in the US, I think, except pretty much in New York. And public health experts have warned that the US lacks the testing and contact tracing we need to safely reopen. So I wouldn't feel safe right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And so workers are asking whether they can refuse to go back, or if they have to go back, if they can demand certain protections. So first of all, it is kind of an annoying lawyerly answer, but it depends on your state, on whether you can be required to go back and what your rights are. In general, California, where we live and where many of our cases are, California employees have far more protections than almost anywhere else in the US.
New York is also very good. 5 attorneys in our firm, including both Blooms, are licensed in New York, and New York is kind of rocks also.
That's true. And you know what? Many states and cities have been trying to improve their worker protection laws during this pandemic. That's one little tiny silver lining. For example, in Michigan, the governor issued an executive order prohibiting companies from firing people who stay home for certain coronavirus-related reasons. And a Texas commission said that people can get unemployment benefits if they choose not to return to work for certain COVID-19 related reasons. So, that's good. That's a start. But there are federal laws that protect all Americans. So let's talk about those.
So people are asking, the big question is, can my employer fire me if I don't return to the office?
Probably, yes, probably they can. If the work requires you to be personally there and the employer is taking reasonable precautions to protect you, like giving you masks, mandating social distancing, giving you access to hand washing, they can probably fire you if you refuse to come back to work. Most employees are at will, which means you serve at the pleasure of your employer, and they can fire you for any reason. It just can't be for an illegal reason. General concerns about coronavirus, probably not a good enough reason for you to say no.
So what laws are available to workers to stand up for themselves if they have safety concerns?
So the biggest federal law is the Occupational Safety and Health Act, OSH, the OSH Act, that guarantees you a right to workplace safety. So if you think that your workplace conditions could cause you serious or imminent harm, not just a stubbed toe or a headache, but something really significant, you are entitled to that as an employee. Employers have to give you a workplace free from recognized hazards that can cause death or serious physical harm. So if you have specific concrete examples, I encourage you to file a complaint with OSHA, that's the federal agency. I would take pictures, note date and time and what the specific unsafe conditions are, send that to OSHA, and they have an obligation to follow up, and you cannot be retaliated against for doing that.
Okay, are there any other federal laws to help workers who don't feel safe?
So, I came up with one more, Sarah, and I think probably most employee lawyers would not have thought of this one, but there's the National Labor Relations Act that usually protects the right of people to unionize. So if you're a private sector employee and you and one other worker feel that your workplace is unsafe and you both decide not to go to work for that reason, you are protected under the National Labor Relations Act, the NLRA, as essentially going on strike for health and safety reasons. You'd be engaging in a legally protected, concerted activity, and you can't be retaliated against. They can replace you, but they can't fire you. This is all about employees joining together for a safe workplace. So again, I would put it all in writing with pictures, explain what's going on. Get a friend to join you. You know, everything's better with a friend anyway, and stand up for your rights together, although 6 feet apart.
Okay, so what if I'm at a higher risk of contracting COVID-19? Can I say no to returning to work if I'm in a vulnerable group?
I definitely think you have a better case if you are elderly or if you have underlying conditions. The ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, protects you. It requires employers to engage in the interactive process to give reasonable accommodations to people with a disability who request one. So if you have diabetes or cancer or heart disease or a serious underlying health condition, you should make a specific request based on that condition for an accommodation and add in there that you understand that you are at a significantly enhanced risk for COVID-19. And ask for a reasonable accommodation like working from home. Your employer at least has to work with you on that and make an effort to accommodate you.
What if they're calling me back to work, but I'm sick and I have COVID symptoms? What are my options? What can I do?
Okay, so you should definitely not go to work if you are sick, especially if you have COVID-19 symptoms. And this is where the Families First Coronavirus Response Act helps you. This is a new federal law. It gives you paid leave for 2 weeks if you have coronavirus symptoms, because we want everybody to stay home if they have those symptoms. If you have an employer that has less than 500 employees, or you've been quarantined by a doctor or the government, you get 2 weeks of paid sick leave. Why this does not apply to big business with more than 500 employees, that's crazy. Don't ask me. I'm not a member of Congress, but at least for everybody else, you do have some protection.
What if I need to care for a family member who is sick with COVID? Do I get any protections for that?
Yes, and the Families First Act gives you 2 weeks of paid sick leave at 2/3 pay to care for somebody in your family because they've been quarantined or they're sick.
Well, that's good. I think, taking care of someone with COVID must be so hard, especially, if you have kids and other people in the household. Speaking of kids, what if I have kids at home? I don't. But what if I, because, we'll get into that another time. But
one grandchild. That's what
what if I theoretically had kids at home because of school and daycare closures? What could I do about it? They're annoying. They're around.
So yeah, it's tough, right? Because parents are trying to work from home and the kids' school is closed and the kids are running around, and you can't just put them in the freezer like I did with you when you were little. Which
I turned out great.
Explains how you turned out.
It was a little cold, but you worked through it.
So again, the Families First Act is going to help you if you've got kids running around. You get 12 weeks of paid family and medical leave, again, at only 2/3 pay, not full salary, but 2/3 pay if you can't work because you're caring for a child because their school or the daycare is closed. You have to be at your company for 30 days before you're entitled to that. And employers with under 50 employees, so really small businesses, don't have to offer it if they say it's going to really jeopardize their business. So best thing to do is reach out to your employer and talk about it and see if you can work something out with them.
Okay, can my boss cut my hours or pay due to coronavirus concerns?
The short answer is yes. Generally, an employer does have the right to do that, and many employers, millions of them all across the country, have done that to try to meet payroll during this tough time. They still have to pay you at least minimum wage, and if you're in the non-exempt category, they have to pay you overtime. If you have a collective bargaining agreement with the union and you're entitled to a certain salary, they have to meet that. Otherwise, yes, they can cut your hours and they can cut your pay.
Okay, I think people are asking this question right now. If I feel my workplace is unsafe, am I allowed to quit? Can I quit and then get unemployment benefits?
Right, so unemployment benefits are higher right now than they ever have been. You get your state amount plus an additional $600 from the federal government. That's going to end on July 31st, by the way. Generally, no, you cannot quit and get unemployment. You have to be fired or laid off to be entitled to unemployment, except there's always an unless, right? Unless you have good cause for quitting, and quitting because of unsafe work conditions, I think would fall under that. So what I would like everybody to do is to document, right? Lawyers are always saying that. Take pictures. Note down dates and times and the unsafe work conditions. Try to raise it with your employer before you leave. If they fail to correct it and you really feel it's unsafe and you have to quit, then I think you're probably in a good position to seek unemployment benefits in your state. And that's especially true if you're in a high risk category, elderly or underlying conditions. So in conclusion, personally, I think it's really important for all of us to stand up for workplace safety right now. Businesses are trying to figure out what to do. I think they should welcome input from their workers who are on the ground, who may know more than the bosses do. And if you have the kind of boss where you can really talk to them about safety, I would encourage you to do that. If your boss is not reasonable and you have an unsafe work situation, you should reach out to an employment lawyer like one of us. And Sarah, how can people contact us?
They can go to thebloomfirm.com. Hopefully it's at the bottom of the screen. We do free confidential consultations and we get back to people usually the same day, and we're here to help.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Thank you to Time Magazine, which had a great article on this, which helped me a lot with my research. And everybody out there, I know it's an uncertain time, especially if you're going back to work. I hope you are staying safe, staying healthy, and standing up for your rights. See you next time.
Thanks, everyone.